Well, hello, my name's Ken Fulgione, and I'd like to welcome you to what we're calling as the question, or actually probably the $59.1 million question. I have this evening, this afternoon, or whatever time of day you're listening with us, several people that have come in that are concerned with a new county jail that's being built on our riverfront. I have Jeff DeGraves. Jeff's a neighbor that has been involved with some petition signing and trying to keep up with the county activities. Will Fantel. Will's county board supervisor with District 2. And Maureen Slauson. Maureen is with District 15. That's actually the district that's being greatly affected because it's the area right there between Grand, First Avenue, and this is the area that we're talking about. What we'd like to do this evening is talk to you about the history of how we got to where we are in terms of the jail project, and also talk about what the county board's actions have been, and give you our opinion of what has been going on so you can become more aware of the issues. We'll probably talk to you a little bit about the location and some of the concerns that we have, and each individual is going to give you their own opinion on that. Also the financial implications, and then probably a little bit of a discussion on some of the alternatives we feel that haven't been handled properly, and then from there we'll probably give you some opportunities to see how you can get involved as listeners and help us here as this issue becomes forward with the City Council, which will be the next step in the process. So the jail's not inevitable. It's not going to be for sure. And we feel there's many alternatives that need to be discussed. I'd like to have Will talk a little bit about the fact that this gives you a pretty good image of what the potential is, impact with the neighborhood. Now, the city's worked on a comprehensive plan that actually the county didn't sit in on, and they've had a number of meetings. I mean, you keep hearing about all the meetings that the county's had. Obviously, the public hasn't had a lot of input into those meetings, but can you give us a little feel for how did they get to this, we need to have a jail in this location?
Well, I think there's a couple things you have to look at, and first, Jeff, I want to say it was very interesting as a lifelong resident of Eau Claire, seeing that sort of graphic expansion of the courthouse, pieces of which I remember, some preceding me. It was very interesting, but I think you have to, I've been on the county board for 4 years, and from what I've been able to see, and I think having to look back before that, there was a study committee that was set up to investigate whether or not we needed a new jail and new courts, other facilities in the courthouse buildings. It was called the Space Needs Study, and that was in existence prior to my getting on the county board. That Space Needs Study came up with and led to a couple of different paths for addressing the needs of the county and the county buildings. Those being to expand on the site and what some people like to call a campus plan, I think to cozy it up, to give it a soft, fuzzy image. Another option was to look outside the city of Eau Claire, to look outside the downtown, to look for other spaces that might be appropriate for this type of longer-term expansion that Jeff is talking about, these additional buildings that are going to be needed to go somewhere at some time. So that's where the board has been for the last 4 years since I've been on it, has been trying to identify that need, where it's going to go, what we're going to do to address the deficiencies that we have in the existing jail and with the court buildings, courthouse buildings, the other people that are in it, and other offices and court functions, courthouse functions, county functions that are in it. We decided last year, that's 2007, the board on a very narrow vote, 15 to 12, approved the expansion onto the riverfront for a jail. We committed at that time $59.1 million to that project, construction of that, and the remodeling that would go into the existing building once the jail is out of it.
Let me stop you at that point, because I kind of remember that vote as it went on. If I remember that evening, there was a vote on the referendum, because that's been a pretty hot topic.
Yes.
And that vote was, they voted it down, which...
yeah, there were two strains of thought operating, I think, at that time. One was myself and others expressed the need, Maureen did, for the public to have a say, to weigh in on this, to get their perspective on it. And that desire to have the public express their thoughts on this was defeated by the majority of the board, who some of those board members felt that I'm elected to do this, I don't need the public's input, that's what they elect me for, and other board members saying that I think they were afraid that the public is going to actually reject this idea, this concept, and they didn't want to have that sentiment.
That seems to be one of the issues I think that we're facing right now, is with any process, if you don't include the public from the beginning in the 11th hour, you need to face the public, and that is one of the issues we're dealing with. I mean, the question of the referendum and the question of participation by the public.
That's right.
Those things have not gone on.
Well, they will talk about all sorts of public meetings that were held on this project.
I've gone to a couple of those. You know,
how many were at 7 a.m.?
Well, not only that, the only reason I got to them is because I heard about them, and then when I get there, they are publicly noticed on the foyer downstairs. But at 7 o'clock on a Friday morning, and if you aren't privy to it, you're not going to be there. Those aren't public inputs. Those are opportunities to say public was invited, and obviously the public doesn't care because they didn't show up at 7 o'clock at a meeting they didn't know about. And I don't mean to belittle their efforts, but I think that there's a different concept here between what is participatory involvement and what the county thinks that they've done. They're obviously trying to run an efficient ship, and the most efficient thing would be to put that jail right next to the river, and well, sorry, Maureen, you're just going to have to, you know, find a different neighborhood to represent because we're going to tar it over.